Good evening and welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, MrSniDBitS.
So like two teams with that movie, it seems like either people love it or they hate it. Okay, I do too. I do too.
BlackGirlMarvel.
I cried laughing. That was hilarious.
Tylermakesfilms.
It's meant for us to kind of contemplate. Like, I don't think his response to me is completely appropriate. Like, it makes sense that he would react that way.
Allthemoviethings.
I think the thing why I enjoyed it more too was the fact that we were going to talk about it from this perspective.
The pre-review with Biggie.
The pre-review is where I tell you about upcoming movies coming to movie theaters and beyond.
And me, the Real Study movie voice guy.
I probably would have been in love with this movie as well if I had watched it earlier, like when it came out, or maybe right after.
Let's go to the poster wall.
Good evening and welcome to The Real Study. My name is MrSniDBitS, and with me tonight we've got Tylermakesfilms and Lieutenant Commander Ray. And of course, we do have BlackGirlMarvel with us, but she's hiding for now. No, she'll be here in just a few minutes. She's running a little bit behind tonight, but that's okay. We are going to get into these movies regardless. And we are doing an all Tyler Perry evening this evening. We are doing the newest Madea movie, A Madea Homecoming, as well as Why Did I Get Married and Why Did I Get Married 2. Both.
And why did we watch these movies?
And why did we watch these movies? Now, Why Did I Get Married 2 was requested by somebody, I believe, on the panel. It might have been...
Me and Lau requested both of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then my sister-in-law, who should be watching tonight, also was a fan of the idea of the Why Did I Get Married series. She's actually tuning in tonight, hopefully. And then the Madea Homecoming is my choice. I put it on there because we were already doing Tyler Perry movies and thought, why don't we show the other side? And so here we are. We will also be doing Minari here coming in a few weeks, as well as quite a few other films. We have a ridiculous list of films. When BlackGirlMarvel shows up, she would tell you that we want you, of course, to follow us on all social media platforms, including Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, TikTok, and there are all sorts of fun things for you to do there as well with us. That said, hello, sis. Glad to see you here. That said, we are going to move over to the main wall, and we are going to get to discussing these films. Hopefully, La will be here soon. How are you guys doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. I like it. And I can already tell that Tyler is not a fan of these films so far. So why don't we start with Tyler and see what you thought of... why don't we just go straight into Homecoming? Let's knock that one out of the park.
Do that first.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then we can spend the whole amount,
Okay.
we'll break the two movies
I was gonna
up
ask.
with,
Yeah.
Yeah. The Family That Prays, Kyle says, would have been a good choice. We didn't pick that one. I'm sorry.
Never saw that one.
So why don't we get right into it? What did you think of a Madea Homecoming, Tyler?
My expectations were fairly low. Somehow it didn't make it past the expectations I already had for it. It's frustrating. That's how I would describe this movie. It's very frustrating. I don't know if it didn't know what tone it wanted to go for. Sometimes it was like a melodrama, and then it would just be really funny all of a sudden. But then I also kept in mind, I think that's normal for Tyler Perry for all the movies that we watched. But this one particularly felt like a lot. And also a lot of the tropes and jokes, they would just spend whatever you thought it was funny, they would spend about 5 to 10 extra minutes on the same joke, and it just kept going. And I was like, wow, they're just not. I thought they were gonna do a cutaway. And their transitions, oh my god, the 3 or 4 times they did the weird.
I couldn't take it. I was like, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm like,
No.
I don't.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Ty,
Ray?
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
No, 100%. Yeah.
I avoid Tyler Perry movies. So when we had requested the first, Why Did I Get Married 1 and 2, I was like, I didn't obviously expect to be on when we review those. I was just gonna be like, yeah, talking in the comments. But this movie, I would never have watched this movie. I know how these types of Madea movies are, and I I reached my cap 10 years ago. Like, I haven't seen a Tyler Perry movie featuring Madea specifically probably since I Diary of a Mad Black Woman, like literally. This was exactly what I was expecting and as bad as I was expecting. The stereotypes, the terrible plot, but like it's almost like he didn't care if the plot followed. He was just kind of making interest, like scenes that Black people would want to watch. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, it's just the kind of.
I feel like it's not just Black people, but I just want to throw that in. I think it's a lot of white people that enjoy this. Like, a lot. But continue.
Oh, because I don't. I
feel like that's who's actually fueling
this is
his
supposed
I was
to
going
feel
to ask,
like.
who are these movies for?
I feel like they're
honestly,
for. I feel like they're for white people that like messy stuff. They like to watch Black people
I can
be in
see
messy
that.
situations. I really, really do.
Interesting.
I'm not saying I'm saying that's every white person, but I'm just saying I think a nice majority of them is like, let's see what happens behind the curtain
Almost,
without
yeah,
me
like
actually having to
peeking.
go behind the
Right.
curtain. You know what I mean? Like,
And also like the political topics that they were, for whatever reason, they decided they wanted to tackle because it's the time. Like that made me feel like this was not for.
Let me tell you right now. So before I started watching it, I was talking to my mom, and I was like, I don't want to watch this, Mom. I'm so sad. And she was like, some of them aren't that bad. And so she was listing all the ones that she's seen. Because like my aunts watch them, so they'll be at my grandma's house watching them or whatever, and she was like, this one's not that bad, this one I couldn't stand, blah blah blah. And she was like, well, let me see if I've seen this one. So she started playing it, and when he mentioned the thing about January 6th, I was like, this came out that recently? Like, I've no context, I don't seek them out, so I had no idea when it came out. But just mentioning that, and then just like the police brutality was like so weird, because it's like, so do you want them to be killing Black people? Because I don't understand why you're making so much light of it. You know what I mean? Like, that was like really off-putting. I was like, this is a real issue. So maybe don't make a joke about it, Tyler, or multiple jokes. Like, that's an entire plot in the movie, is making
or make a better joke
Yeah.
and then be done with it if you want it. Because I've seen people make jokes about police brutality, and it's not so much police brutality that they're making fun of, they're just making fun of the police and the situations and stuff like that. This was okay. I'm sorry.
No. Lala, welcome. Glad you made it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The moment you messaged me, I walked through the door. That's why I was like, just go.
No, and I figured you'd join us.
Like, just go.
But what did you think of Madea Homecoming?
Okay. I had to get super duper. I'll say elevated.
You were eating exactly what Madea was eating, those chocolates, right?
Yes, that's to get through this film, because I literally, at a couple of points of time in this film, yelled out, my mother can attest to this, I yelled out, what is this film? I yelled it out. I screamed it, perhaps. I'm pretty sure the building knew what I was doing. This film was, I don't know what it wanted to be, because I was super confused, because part of me is like, this is what happens when you write your own stuff and you don't let other people help you write. Is that they don't get to see, and no actor is going to be like, Tyler Perry, this doesn't, they're just going to read his words, collect their check, and disappear into the ether that is Hollywood actors, right? But this film, I'm like, I thought they were a couple.
So did I.
Am I the only person that thought that they were a couple?
I was confused.
I thought they were a couple.
Wait.
Yeah, I thought so.
The way they talked in the car in the beginning.
The way they talked in the car, the way
they
they kept
come out
singing
together,
Uncle
right?
Joe.
That's what I thought.
You know what I
He
mean?
had his arm around him. I was like,
they're
together,
just good
too.
friends.
When the mom was taking pictures, and they were like, he was like hugging him, I was like, oh, they're cute. They're cute together. That's nice. And then y'all was literal roommates. I was like, what's happening in this? Because I was sitting here like, when it came out about his mom and everything, dating the best friend or whatever, I was like, but he been having sex with your son just to be around you? I'm confused. Like, I was so confused. I was like, but
yes.
I kind of felt that.
I was like, we all mad that she dating a 26-year-old, but Y'all ain't mad that he was banging the son while he was banging the mother. I was so confused, but then like they never talked about.
This is a Tyler Perry problem.
Ah, yes, a huge problem.
Because
this film was not. This film didn't know what it wanted to do.
Right, the two good movies have a lot of problems with the continuity between them.
100%.
We will get into that, though. Yeah.
When I watched though, I told my mom, I was like, these are films that when you revisit.
They're
not as good as they were on the first watch.
The revisit, okay?
It's the revisit. It's the revisit for me. But like City said, we'll get there. But Madea Homecoming was like, I was like, is it a love letter to Beyonce? Because I was like, what is this ending?
The credit scene.
As soon as I saw him in the outfit, I was like, I can't do it.
I watched it for a little bit because I was like, oh, it's going to end in a minute. And then I hit pause and I scrolled and I was like, it keeps going for like the entire credits. It seems like for a nice majority of the credits. I didn't know what this film wanted to be. There were some moments where I was like, a yuck. I laughed. It was funny, but they were few and far in between.
And like halfway in, right? It took
halfway in. Like it took way too long because I was literally sitting here like. I've never been a fan of like Meet the Browns and all that kind of stuff because that type of like shit comedy just doesn't make sense to me because it's stupid comedy. It's like low hanging fruit comedy and it's never funny. Like, why does he have a gasoline thing? Why does anybody let him have a gasoline, like 2 gasoline tanks next to that's not funny. And then for him to but then it was slightly funny when he got lit up on fire. But what's not even funny, he didn't go to the hospital. He survived that.
He didn't even
get burned
at all. But what my wife was saying is these are much more like cartoons with live action. So that's kind of just the way Madea films and the Browns. What
you just said confirms what I'm thinking in my head. Like this for me feels like a minstrel show, and I hate it. I think that's what I hate about it. Is it's like. It's shucking and jiving, and
it is, and I don't like any of that. It's very for the people, and I'm just like, Tyler Perry to me is a person he has a platform. Because here's the thing, I get Madea makes him money. He tried to stop being Madea, and the world was like, nobody wants anything else from you but Madea. So I understand it, right? I understand it. You have to be Madea because because those plays are what was giving you the big money. Right. Like that was the reason why you was able to make these films, was because of these plays. So I understand it. But you can make Madea over here, make these dumb little TV shows over here. I don't even call them dumb because they give people work and I understand what he does and I appreciate that. But you can do that over here and then do some poignant stuff over here. Like, what are we doing? Like, you're in a position to stop showing Black people as like conniving, greedy, like low, like the lowest of the low. And you not even doing that. I'm just like, okay,
I actually told my brother this. We were talking about it, I think, maybe on Friday when I had watched the first one. Is the issue with Tyler Perry is Tyler Perry. Like, that's the problem. Because if you look at his IMDb and you see his other producer and directing credits, like, he's made other movies that are pretty good that people would be like, oh, this is a Tyler Perry film? Like, that's the issue. But when you get to a movie that he's in or that he's starring in as Madea, like, that's when we lose the plot. Because he actually does have a vision that I think he could have been very successful outside of his Madea persona if he wanted to.
I agree. If he wanted to. But I don't think he wants to because this makes him money. Correct. And it makes him like hand over fist money. So it's like, why do anything extra when I'm making hand over fist money? I can do whatever I want to do. I can live this life. So to one point, I 100% agree. I get that. I mean, I don't agree, but I get it. But I also feel like there's some deep-seated trauma within himself that he probably need therapy for to work out, because the way that he portrays his own people, the way that he portrays females, man, it's like it's a slight against your own people. I'm just like, dang, bro. Like, dang.
It was so confusing to me. I didn't get their arrival. And then I didn't realize, like, I was confused at first.
Who they were. I was like, what is this?
I had no idea.
I'm like, do they think this? At first, I was like, do they think this is an Airbnb? I was like, what is?
I was like, so confused.
This kind of was an Airbnb. Like, did y'all get y'all like reservate? Like, you get the wrong address. It's supposed to be like somewhere else. And I was just like, and were we supposed to get that they were Dutch because he said he was Dutch and Irish? I'm like,
not at all.
Now,
you picked some of the accents that I don't even know about. That was like Dutch.
Did you guys look up the character?
Yes.
So that's Mrs. Brown is an Irish version of Madea, and they were like, "Hey, let's bring them together," which is clever. But we would have to know the fuck that is.
I don't know.
for
Correct.
it to
We never
matter,
know
I
that,
didn't know who
right?
she was at all.
I didn't either.
No idea.
And
No clue.
And it's like, okay, I'm not gonna go watch this British show just to find out who she is. And I felt like since I've never watched a Madea anything ever, I've seen clips here and there. I didn't know, I've seen clips of the Browns, so I know who Mr. Brown is from that only, but I don't know his character. I don't know he's supposed to be this kind of over the top kind of idiot that just never gets anything right, but he's lovable,
basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a Stooge character is perfect. Or Uncle Joe, like that character was so like, I understand he's cringe, but yeah, no, there was nothing about that character that made me laugh. I was just like, you look bad in the makeup. You look like it just didn't.
Hitting on your family. I was like, and when they told you that was family, I was like, what was the point of this?
And they make you sit in that joke for like an extra 10 minutes.
Right. Only to give you an ass joke at the very end of it with Mr. Brown and his ass. Right. Like they
listen. My thing was I didn't like it when you saw the people come out you saw his family come out the cab or whatever. They walked up to the door and then she was like, "Please don't embarrass me." And then she farted. I was like, "You doing fart jokes?"
I know. I love fart jokes, but like this is the first one where I was like, "Oh my god!"
No,
but also
fart jokes can be like highbrow if you do it right. Like they can be elevated.
But also, it was the only one.
Exactly.
Only fart joke. So you did one fart joke to show that this woman is embarrassing, and then just laid it, and then she never farted again for one. And then her cringe moments are moments of her just saying words that she normally says that Black people would be like y'all ain't never heard knickers before? Like, come on, stop playing with me. I was like, this doesn't make sense.
The flies crotch thing, like, what is this? What are you? So you're just gross? You can't shower? Like, Mrs. Brown, like, she was like,
jokes from like the mid
2000s. Like, what is this movie? You're right, La. What is this movie? That's
what is this movie? Like, I yelled it. Yeah. I yelled it multiple times because there are moments that I will say this. I'm about to eat this movie up, but like this, there are moments that I did like. I like the fact that when it was all said and done, when it came out, because when it came out about her dating the 26-year-old, like the roommate, I like that she laid into like the ex-husband or whatever. I like that she like. I was like, yes, get this off your chest. Like she felt very repressed the entire film. I'm like, get this off your chest. I love the fact that when he came out to his family was like, we was waiting on you, baby. But like,
I like that part a lot.
I was like, thank you for not making this a trauma dump that a lot of people do when they have characters come out in film or television. It's always, you always have the family that they'd be like, oh my God, you're staying on this family because of this. And I was just like, they were all like, we was waiting on you, baby. Like, we knew since you was a kid.
I like that he was embarrassed too. Like he was just like,
yeah, I love. He was like, well, this is embarrassing since everybody
you guys shouldn't.
But here's my thing. I'm looking like, is he coming out with you or is we?
No, because that was even more confusing because after that happened. And I think it was her sister was like, well, at least he came out. And then she was like, well, did they? Because only my son, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that reinforced the fact that we were supposed to be expecting.
I think there
was also come out.
I think he was gay in the script. And then as they started shooting, they dropped it.
They switched it. I was just like, is he gay or not? Because part of me was like,
supposed to be gay, bro.
No,
like, I don't
he didn't even like say I'm bi or anything. Like he didn't, there was nothing.
I was waiting for at least at minimum a bi revelation because it was like, well, being your roommate and like, but like once I met your mom, like I realized that but like something to show that we had been strung along for a reason. But it was just like a bait and switch, like literally, it was just like, oh, we wanted to trick you into thinking he was gay too, but really he's befriended you to be with your mom or stayed friends and roommates with you because people don't live together like that in college.
I was like, y'all lived together for all 4 years?
No. Not the first year, maybe.
And he's 2
and then they move out together.
2 years older than you.
Right.
2 years.
They wouldn't have been in a freshman dorm together. So
how did y'all even meet? Like it'd be different if he was like, well, this was my RA, and then we kind of got cool because he was my RA. Why are y'all roommates? Like,
and they could have been friends even if he was an RA.
You could have tweaked this a little bit to actually be a really good story. And then I was just like, because like it was like it never stopped. It was like a barrage of things. It was like he gay. The boy don't like the father. And I'm telling you, the whole time through
That
movie,
part-
I was like, why is this boy so mad at this boy's father? Like, why are you so invested in him getting the
Because
man?
he was
Like,
mad about what he
that's
did to the girl, to the
No,
mom,
literally.
right?
I was just like, what are we?
At least it made sense at the end, you know.
It did, but it was like little moments, like when Aunt Agnes told her that he was going back to Ireland. I was like, why is she so affected? And then I was like, oh, it's because her son's dating him and the son doesn't know.
Right.
Yeah.
And then come to find out, all that was wrong. I was like, listen here. What are we doing? What are we doing? I don't like it. I don't like that.
This was words on a page, and they had people act it out. They was like, somebody did a good job.
It was like a barrage. Like I said, it was a barrage of everything. It was like, I'm gay. I want to fight your father, but I love her. We're together. Oh yeah, just to let y'all know, I'm marrying your best friend. I didn't mean to fall in love with him. This is just how it is.
So many
Why are
things.
y'all talking?
And then on top
I
of
feel
all
like
of
I
that,
just
they would
watched the movie
interject.
again, Law. Thank you. I feel like I just watched
You're
the whole thing.
You're welcome.
Go ahead.
On
Tyler.
top of that, they would like interject with jokes. Like there'll be the drama going on, and then like, oh, I'm on drugs, and just like random jokes
No, for
inserted,
real, like,
and it kept going.
Or guns
sense.
just pulled out of nowhere, you know, for no reason.
Well, that's
You have an
Madea.
entire
Well, that's Madea.
machine gun back
that's
there.
the
Like,
only
come on.
thing.
A rifle.
That's the only thing that made sense to me was because Madea always got a gun somewhere. It's either in her purse or in her boobs or somewhere. She pulled stuff out of everywhere. That's the only thing that I was like, well, that tracks with the character.
Right.
But other than that, everything else was like,
I have
everything else was just like fever dream.
I have a
Fever
question.
dream. It was weird.
About one part that we haven't discussed yet. How do you guys feel about what Tyler did with Rosa Parks?
Terrible.
I don't know why he did that.
I mean, I know the real story, but why, Rosa? Why?
Well, or like, why not Rosa in college before it's like her moment, like that moment in history?
Correct.
Like, why not poke at history people? That's fine. People in history that need to be poked at a little bit, but not those sacred moments. Like, that's such a crucial moment in history. I don't know. That's just me. I felt
Which
very
sucks because
like,
that was like the best part of the before the Rosa Parks got introduced. When he went into like the black and white thing, I was like, oh cool, the movie got kind of interesting. Like I want to see more of this.
and the
man.
office, right? Destroying the office is
I
very
was like, this is
Madea,
funny.
right?
I'm here.
But I
Like,
also like that it's like 1955, so Medea's 120. Like, what are we?
Yeah.
There was some
Because
fun
they never
there,
know how old they
but-
never know how old she is. So to me, that was like a fun way of being like, oh, like you'll never know my age because I'm throwing this at you.
oh,
And we
okay.
all know that like Madea lies and stuff like that. Like she never tells the exact truth, but she tell it to tell like to give you some like inspiration or to help you out or whatever.
Right.
But I was just
See, that's fun.
Tyler, let me write for you.
Tyler, the auteur,
Let me
Madea
write for
Perry.
you.
Let us write.
Please let me write for you, or let me like let
Actually,
me tweak your own writing because like this is I was just no.
I
But
think
why Rosa Parks of all people?
I think if you look at the next two movies, I do believe it would behoove him to have some females in the room with him. You know,
Okay.
He
behoove.
needs some females in the room because there's like a very, at least in the first film of the movies we're going to discuss, the first one was very like, but dudes can be all right. There was definitely like a bro-ish positive male, like they definitely like Mike's a piece of shit. Like we'll get into that, but there was still like a
Sure.
look at this. Even when the shitty guys can be all right, and I'm like, this is definitely a male specific. You can tell, or
But
even like
again,
the way
it's
that
disjointed.
yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
There's no character growth. How long does the first one take place between the first one and the second one? There's no character. It got to be some growth, some years or something, because they had another kid and then Sheila had a kid. So like,
Oh
it had to be
yeah, it was
some- had to
supposed
be
to. I
some
want to say it was like
years.
supposed to be like 5 years in between.
But that don't make sense because Angela and old dude's kids stayed the same age. They just
They
stayed
did.
the same. They were the Simpson children. They did not grow.
So the moment the credits drop on the first film, Tyler Perry and his wife get the tubes untied and have an immediate baby. Like I'm talking like right now.
like immediate.
And then that kid grew
Yeah.
up after 6 years. That's the 6-year-old we see, and it's been 7 years. But all of a sudden, this is the first trip they've gone on since the last.
Right.
I had some problems with the continuity.
I have so many problems with both of these films after because I've seen them both before, but I'm like older now. And
I was wondering if you were going to come to the same conclusion. I was like, didn't we? I said I was wanting to see this because when
Yup, me and Ray were the two like, oh, let's do the Why Did I Get Married? We still had like the nostalgia in our head, and now that I rewatched it, I was like, oh no, oh no, no. I'm a better person now.
Why don't we go ahead and just rate the Madea film? Because I don't think we all have anything else to say about it. And let's move right into these other films.
I do have one nice thing to say about
Please,
it.
we always welcome that on this panel. We welcome.
Come on, nice.
I did like the one scene where after she had like admitted that she was in love with his friend or whatever, and it was Madea and the mom having like a heart to heart. That was cool too. And then it kept, and I thought she had said a really like great line, and it was going to end there, but then the scene kept going, and it kept going. And
yeah,
that was
like there were nice moments. I will admit to this, right?
Yeah,
I will say this for Tyler Perry across the board of all his work. There are moments where you're like, well, that was a nice scene, or that was nice, or that was actually funny. Like, you have these moments. It's just not all the way through the film, and it's just like just joints and it's broken up. Like the scene that Tyler talked about was nice. It just went on too long. It's like, cut. I know you in it and you directing it, but cut.
This is like an 80-minute film that runs. Yeah, like 40 minutes far too long.
It could have been an hour special, to be honest. Like, they didn't even need that.
It's almost 2 hours. I can't believe it.
Because honestly, you had characters in it that you only saw like a couple of times and then they disappeared. I will say this though. My favorite character, if I had to pull out a favorite character, was Aunt Bam. She's the only character that I believed everything she said. Everybody else
scene with her on the couch.
Everybody else felt like they were just like, I don't like these words, so I'm just going to do the best I can. She felt the only one that felt genuine, that I believed her when she was like, "You think I could squeeze in between?"
Yeah, but look, she had two good-looking actors to work with. Like, that wouldn't have been hard to
like,
play. You know,
can I squeeze in between the two? I was like, "Ma'am, bring her back in the scenes," because she's the only one that I thought was funny. She was the only one that I thoroughly believed, and I was just like, and if we call it a spade, his auntie. The other lady, not the great aunt, but the aunt. What was her point? She barely said words. She was just there.
She had literally only a couple of lines.
Like only a couple of lines. Like there was no need for her to be there. I was like, that's an extra person in this house or in this scene.
But she's been in other movies, so that's why she's there.
Has she?
I don't know. I'm guessing.
I'm like, whoa. I'm like, okay. But let's
I assumed all of these characters, except for maybe the youngest ones, were from other movies.
No idea.
I really feel like she hasn't, unless she is on the same TV show as the British lady or whatever.
Mrs. Brown.
I haven't. Mrs. Brown. I haven't seen her in anything else.
There are some Madea fans in the chat. Can you guys help us out? Are these characters recycled? Are they part of the same Madea universe?
I know that Cora, Mr. Brown, and Aunt Bam are part of the Tyler Perry universe. But I don't think the other lady was. She might be on Miss. That's his universe. The TPU.
Movies and TV shows are all
the TPU.
Rolled over to the other.
Coming to a theater near you.
Oh my god, it is still the MCU. It's the Madea cinematic universe.
Can I go first? Can I rate this first?
Please.
Yes, you can, Ray.
Please.
I am not giving this a numerical value. I'm giving this a never watch it again. That's what I'm giving it.
Doesn't even hit the scale.
Not at all.
Wow. Okay. Respect. Tyler.
Yeah.
Perry. I'm gonna give it. I'm giving it a 3 because there was enough moments that I was like, that's great. That could be a movie. That could have been done differently.
If I had watched this in a half sleep state, I might have laughed at that.
Yeah.
I was elevated to the highest state.
And you were brought down to the lowest.
She's on Mount Olympus over here and still couldn't laugh at it.
Understand? And I was like, but I guess I'll give my rating.
Cringe, please, yes.
Cringe. I'll give this a solid 1 because
not a soft one.
No, not a soft one. It's a solid 1 because of Aunt Bam and the little bit of moments that I did like that still don't equate to a number. So it gets a solid 1 because this was, I'm mad my algorithm had to watch this. So
Can I put a question mark at the end of my 3?
Yes. I like that. My
algorithm is going to pick, I'm going to have to go back in and thumbs this down so I don't get any recommendations for this.
No Madea, no Madea.
You know what I'll say? Oh, I did thumbs it down. I'll give it a 0.5 for the punches landing and the fight. Them punches was landing.
But
give it a 0.5 for that.
But I feel like Tyler Perry choreographed that fight because it was still very bad. It was just very reachable. It was very reachable punches, and it was just like
It
Well, I
was
like your
giving
3D
Mr.
3D
Fantastic.
punching.
It was
That's great.
yes. I was
Love
like,
it.
what is happening? But they were swinging. They were at least going. They
No,
were
they
swinging.
were.
I'll
They
give it that.
were. It's just that I was just like, my
Everyone
thing
did this, yeah.
was. But here's the thing too, right? This is what I don't get. Okay, this is okay. Okay, I'm gonna say this one thing, and then Sneedy can do it. So we can move on. I can talk about.
Yeah,
go.
I said this before we watched before we
I'm
came on.
sorry.
If you hate something, it's easy to talk about it. Go ahead.
It is easy to talk. It is easy to talk about. So like the scene where like he's like, please don't do this. They were in each other's face, like, please don't do this.
Right.
please don't do this. Please. And it's like, okay, so in the past, this boy has like popped off and gotten angry. Is this his character? Is this who he is? Because you're just like, don't do this here. I told you. I just wanted my father here. Don't do this, please. And he was like all in his face.
Whenever a line includes "please don't do this" or "I said I wouldn't do this," I'm already exiting.
Yeah.
I can't.
Because my thing was this, I get it. You don't like him. Well, from the boy's point of view, you don't like him because he abandoned me and my mom or whatever.
Right.
And you can see how that has affected me. And I understand that you're being a boyfriend, friend, undercover. I don't know what you're doing. Down low, I don't know what it is. So you're doing all this stuff. I understand
It's a light crush.
It's a light crush, right? I dig it. I like it. Appreciate you. But if I tell you, and I invited you to my family's thing, and if I tell you, do not fight, guess what you should do?
Not fight.
Not fight.
Hey, it's just a thought. I'm with you.
Like, you made this about you, right? And I don't care. She's all like, I'm pretty sure she was all like, he's respecting my honor. But you keep telling everybody, can we make this about my son and his day and whoop-de-whoop.
Right.
And this dude went off. My friend loves it when I say that. This dude went out and ruined a party. And you still like, this 26-year-old loves me more than you ever. I'm just like, can we go home? I want to go home. This is not a homecoming for me. This is a homecoming.
I don't. Go ahead, Snoopy.
I'm enjoying this, so I don't mind.
Can I say one more technical thing after you can go? You can
Sure. Let me rate it, and then you can say whatever you'd like. I'm going to give this a soft 2. Yeah, much like most 2s are, pretty soft. Anyway, that's just how I feel hilarious about it. It's quite shitty, so that makes sense. Nice too. No, it was fucking awful. This movie is fucking terrible. Yeah, I'm sorry, Tyler. I appreciate a lot of the work you've done, but this is not Tylermakesfilms, Tyler Perry.
Okay.
Dude.
I'm sorry.
let this be the last Madea movie you make.
It won't.
Let that be the case.
It won't.
So.
It's set up for another one, and that she might go to Europe. Maybe, I don't know.
No.
You're right. And I was like, please, God, don't.
Listen, when they said that, she was like, you should come to Ireland. Here's the thing. I was annoyed that she kept saying Iran, and I was just like,
they kept doing that joke.
I was like, what is happening?
Who laughed at this? Nobody in the writer's room, because it was just him. But I'm just like, who laughed at this?
We'd still love to have you on the show, Tyler. Let's just put that out there. We don't hate you.
I don't know. Might be busy that day.
Lala will be doing her hair. It will be me and Tyler with Tyler
for a long time.
Anyway, so we have other movies that deserve far more of our time. Did you guys you had one more technical thing, Tyler, you wanted to say?
Oh, I didn't know if you guys noticed, but they used a lot of stock sounds. Like the gun cocking was so weird. It was like
100%.
No, it was 90s.
The punches were so weird.
Sound.
I was like, why is it edited this way?
It was like all you needed during that fight was a kablam, kapow.
Because
like you needed like someone.
Tyler Perry Productions has a small file that has like 12 sounds, and they got them from SoundBible.com.
They spent it all on the logo. Their logo is super epic for whatever reason.
It is. It is.
It brings you into the movie until the movie starts. You're like, oh.
We're gonna move on to Why Did I Get Married? Which is another weirdly Tyler Perry film. I don't know how we managed that. I'm kidding, of course. And we will be discussing Why Did I Get Married, which has a pretty big cast. Tyler Perry, of course, stars as Terry. Why he couldn't just call himself Tyler? Janet Jackson, Sharon Leal, Malik Yoba, which we just watched a movie with him not that long ago because he was in Cool Runnings. He plays Yul Brynner. Jill Scott, Richard Jones, Tasha Smith, who is amazing.
Richard T. Jones.
Richard T. Jones, apologies. Michael White, who I, for whatever reason, completely forgot was Spawn.
Yes.
And then Denise Boot, Layman Rucker, and those are the main actors.
I will say his name is pronounced LeMan.
Is it
say that
LeMan?
Yes. Yeah.
Terrible at names, but
no, but phonetically it looks like Layman Rucker. Like I'm just saying, his name is LeMan Rucker.
So this is
phonetically it looks like.
So this is a story about really a woman, Patricia, who writes books, and one of her books is about marriage, and she does a study with all of her friends where they go to the mountains or whatever and talk about marriage for a weekend, and then she writes about it. And that's, of course, the story that we're watching is them going to another retreat after the book has been written. And we get to watch 4 married couples do what married couples do. So yeah, why don't we start with Lieutenant Commander Ray? Why did you and La pick the Why Did I Get Married movies?
On my initial remembrance, I definitely, I think I blocked Angela out. And so I thought that they were compelling stories, and I liked the idea of them kind of counseling each other. Like, it's kind of like that windows to the soul kind of thing. It's like you can't have a good vantage on your own life while you're living it. And these are people that you trust to help kind of give you insight on your situation. They know you, they know them, they know as much as you've told them, and they can kind of help. I think where it gets muddy is when those people are also kind of reviewing your situation from the vantage point of their own situation. So that's kind of where I think that this story had a lot of potential. I did like it. I think this is maybe the second or third time I've seen it, but not as much as I remembered. I was like, did we remember this differently? Because the character Angela, it feels like he always has to write like a character like that. That's just so
loud, aggressive, and abrasive. Yeah,
absolutely. Must be an ex-wife or something. That's my best guess.
And it's like because he's like, oh, everybody knows some Black woman like that, or every friend group has a Black woman like that. And it's like, first of all, no, we don't. And even if he did, why do you got to write about it? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like just to establish her character is so not, I wouldn't even say uncultured, but the fact that she just doesn't care. Like, I don't know any person like that who is able to be as successful as she is carrying herself that way. I just don't know how it's possible. I thought Cheryl's character, Cheryl Leal, I think that the dynamic of their relationship was interesting, because usually you see that kind of reverse, like the man is too busy, doesn't have time for the wife, all of this kind of avoids intimacy in that way. So reversing it was very interesting. I think that they did a good job portraying that. I just felt like Janet and Malik's characters were completely flat. Like, I'm so sad. Like, I feel like I remembered them differently, but like they were so flat. Yeah, like Michael Jai White was just being Michael Jai White. Like, he just was doing his thing, and I guess there's something to be said for that.
That guy's ripped.
What about Jill Scott?
Oh yeah. No, I love Jill. I don't have anything bad to say about her. She was the best part of the whole movie. And I don't know the guy's name who plays the sheriff. I've seen him in like maybe one or two other things. Like, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't see too much of him. And Richard T. That's who he plays. You know what I'm saying? He always plays that guy.
That's Cooper from Event Horizon.
He always plays that dude. Like you can count on he's gonna
Yeah.
play some guy with an
Who's
attitude.
like with an attitude, who's smart mouth, who like quippy and
Absolutely.
yeah.
Because I think that what I remember him, like the biggest thing I remember him from was, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was on Judging Amy, which was like low key my joint back in the day. But like ever since then, he's always been
that person,
that guy. Eccentric suits with an attitude, and I'm like, Richard, you got more in you than that. Also, Tyler, find something better for this character. Like, why that guy? You know what I'm saying? Like,
because you gotta have somebody to hate in the movie.
But I mean, he needed a guy like that, and he got the best guy to play that guy. Like, I mean, that's if we want to call his
Jones
spade, you know,
did an amazing job making me want to punch him in the face. Like, I really,
for sure, he was the worst.
I mean, Richard is short or is long for Dick. Like,
yeah.
Richard is long for Dick. I never really thought of it that way. Oh, Tyler. Yeah. Okay. Lala, what did you think of Why Did I Get Married?
Both of these Tylers. My God, no.
Too many Tylers.
Too many Tylers. No. I chose this film because my initial thing is that like I like this film. That was my initial thing. I watched it. I liked it. The first one still doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. It's that second one, but we'll get to that. But
right.
The first one doesn't bother me because it's like it's an introduction to these characters. You don't know who these people are. So to me, Angela is hilarious because she's the only one that's saying the truth. And like I like that about her character. She's the only one that's saying the truth. To me, Janet Jackson hasn't done enough acting for me to kind of appreciate what she brings to the table. Not saying that she's not bad, but everything seems very light and gentle. And I know that she writes books, but I need her to speak up in the scene. And it's just very much so like it's very much so like that. And like to me, when you're doing that in the scene, I don't believe you. I don't think you're. I feel like you're nervous. Like shake her out of that nervousness or something like that. I don't know. To me, Jill Scott takes a lot of breaks. When she speaks, she's like, he stop. He didn't do that. That's not my. It's just like, okay. All right. But again,
drama.
Come on. But I mean, I won't say I love this movie, but I do thoroughly like this film because it actually is cohesive if you look at it. You know what I mean? It's like maybe like one of his most cohesive films where it's like you have these couples, there's breakdown within these couples, nobody wants to believe about it, and then we get to the breakdown. This man treats this woman unfairly. Even though she was acting blind, why this girl on this trip? Somebody, why she here? Why she here, ma'am? Like, oh, she your friend. Nobody else brought a friend. Just saying. But she was the same in Nutty Professor 2 backseat. She definitely was. Janet was exactly the same in Nutty Professor 2. That's perfection. That is perfection.
I've never seen that, so.
You're not missing much. The first one is the first one is the first one. Keep it that way.
Once Eddie Murphy started putting on fat suits, I stopped watching his movies. I just couldn't do it anymore.
I thoroughly enjoyed Nutty Professor, but to me, it's one of those films where like it just needs to be the one. Because sometimes you can't recreate the magic of the first one.
And the first one did well enough. Obviously, they wanted to make a second
one.
Right,
and they wanted to make a second one. I was just no. Anyway,
this is the reason we have a Scooby-Doo too. But I digress.
Listen, I prefer Scooby-Doo 2 over Nutty Professor 2. We're gonna call it spade a spade. But overall, I don't have a problem with this film. I think start to finish, the end where she loses the weight, and she, even though they just took padding off of Jill Scott, they just took padding off.
First of all, let me tell you what, them pads they had on her thighs, that was hot. I was like, why are you doing Jill like this?
Why she built like this?
Why
like she's built differently. I haven't even seen women that are her size that was built like that. I was like, what was we doing? I was like, what was he doing? But I love the end scene when they're all together and she's crying and she's like, I found a man that like loves me. And I loved her and forget his name. What's his name in the film? The sheriff's name in the film.
Troy. I have no idea.
Troy.
It was
Troy.
Sheriff.
Sheriff Troy. But I love like their connection. I love how like he called her out on like the things that she does. Because I used to be like that. I used to like make fun of myself before other people could. The beginning of my stand-up. But I was like, I used to do that. So I really connected with her character, especially when I first watched it. I was just like, oh my God, I do that. I was like, I need to stop doing stuff like that. And like honestly, if the film was just about them,
correct,
that would be a great love story. Like a girl going through like an abusive relationship. It's like a typical story, but it's still like a girl going through an abusive relationship, and she goes on vacation to like Colorado because that's all she could afford because the dude treated her wrong. She meets this nice guy. Like all these things could have happened, but the other couples could have pieced out. And this could have just been like,
or they could have just been side characters rather than
side characters who helped her and stuff like that. But yeah, the fact that these films are focused on like Janet's character and Malik Yoba's character, I'm just kind of like, that's the wrong couple to pick. But you know, it is what it is.
How about you, Tyler? Why did I get married?
I like this movie out of the three that we watched. And I agree with everything you guys are saying too. I actually feel kind of bad for Jill Scott because I agree with you. I think if the movie had just focused on like their story, and I feel like once you got to like the house, her acting is good, but it came off like, because it was compared to the rest of the cast, it just felt like kind of funny sometimes, like unintentionally. Like there was a part where Mike is being like a complete dick, which by the way, he's so cartoonishly, like I know it's a melodrama, but sometimes it's like, how you have a bunch of friends and they see this guy being a dick, there's no way this guy would still be around. Like he would have been out of his house.
They would never let him treat her that way.
If they were real friends and real men, this woman cooked y'all breakfast. This woman cooked y'all breakfast, but you still allow him to like talk about her and do the things that this woman is on a trip. Like you still, but go ahead, Ty, my bad.
In front of everybody too. Like he has like balls for it. Like, there's a part where like the music starts playing and she turns over and she like cries, and I felt so bad because I laughed because it felt kind of funny. Like because not because I didn't feel it. It was just like, man, this whole thing around her is so ridiculous. Like I think she's crying because she wants to get out of the movie.
It felt like a Hallmark movie at that moment to you.
Yeah, I was like, what is this?
I also feel like this was Jill Scott's like first or second time acting like on this level. So her and Janet were kind of like in the same. Janet had a little bit more experience because she was Penny, but still, you could be Penny and then not act for a while, and then Nutty Professor did not act for a while, and that don't mean you're like a great actor because you haven't like been doing. But I think Jill is the same. Like she only done like one or two things before she like did this movie.
Yeah, and then was this Janet's sort of like comeback?
This is her biggest. It's like this is her peak, I think.
Oh
yeah, this was like her. This was her like comeback to film.
Yeah,
like film. Because she had like I think Nutty Professor was like the last thing she did, and then she had made music, and then she just kind of chilled out. And then I think Tyler Perry said he had to like go to her and ask her because he really wanted her to be in this film. He really wanted her to be this character.
Oh, and then the sequel was like her goodbye to film.
Listen, I think during the sequel, she went through an abusive relationship or something like that. She said it was very difficult.
She was
for
getting
her.
divorced.
Yeah,
and
she was
that's
getting
when
divorced.
Michael died, like all in the filming of
all
the
of the same,
right.
And she still and like so that scene where she's like destroying the place. She said that was very cathartic for her in the time because she had
I like that scene.
She had all this emotion and
much like a lot of Tyler Perry's stuff. Like there's little snippets of
snippets.
But yeah, that's this movie. I thought it was like again the most cohesive. I didn't necessarily have a problem with it. Like once it got going, I was like, yeah, I'm rolling with it. It's fine. Like,
yeah.
I really like this movie.
I dig it. Let's go.
I really like this movie. I was emotionally attached to the characters. When Sheila hit Mike over the top of the head with the wine bottle, I was like, fuck yeah, get him. Okay. Like, I was so invested. I was yelling at the screen. I was laughing.
I giggle at that scene, though, because she does it. The way she does it is funny to me. It's very much like...
But I like how she uses that later against Trina and goes, yeah, stay away from the wine bottles. I like that little just kind of throwback.
That scene always makes me laugh too, though. But go ahead, Snitty.
I don't know. I think Tyler, for me, watching Madea, which is what I watched first, and then I watched this, I was watching you act and watching you play, not you necessarily, but something closer to you. Well, you do good at it, man. Like I thought he was good. He was funny. I think he was poignant. I think he has a lot of wisdom in what he's saying about a lot of the stuff he's saying about marriage. Being that I've been married for a decade and, know what that's all about. To me, I was very invested in what they were trying to say about marriage. And I like that they were showing that all marriages take work, and they were showing that that's what it means to be married, is to take work, and that not everything is ever perfect, but it takes, and they said in the beginning of the movie where Janet talks about the 3 rules that you just never, you know, you never use something personal, you never try to hit below the belt, and you're always trying to be open to the other person. And that's something that my wife and I relate to. We were both like, hey, we do this already. We don't even have to watch this movie to get this info. So
that's good stuff.
yeah, we really liked it. And, you know, and I like the concept of the 80-20 where, you know, people see this idea that, you know, well, it looks greener greener over there, but in reality, it's that the grass is green because of the way the sun is shining on it. But as soon as you get over there, there's a mud hole and all this other terrible analogy that I'm destroying as you get to the other side. And of course, we see Mike go through that. The moment I saw Mike, I wanted to kill him because of the way he treated his wife. And then that stayed through the whole film. But the moment that I saw, is it Sheila? Is that her name? No, yeah. Angela. I want to kill her Angela. Too. I was like, you're drinking on a train. You're talking shit to everybody. You're being obnoxious. Why are you being like this? I didn't like that. And then she ended up becoming one of my favorite characters. Like Law said, I love that she's like,
yep,
she's telling the truth. She's kind of got the funniest lines. She's the most kind of outspoken character, which I relate to. So I really like that. And I don't like what they did to her in the second film. I think that they threw her character under the bus. And this is what I mean.
They were
Tyler Perry at the end of this film kind of does this. There's even a moment, I should have written it down, but there's a moment where he's like, all the guys are together and they're like, look at us. And I'm like, dude, this is so a dude's perspective film, right? Even though there's a lot that says negative about the guys and the girls, he tried to do a good job. I got to give him credit. He tried to make it like broke down even, but you could still tell it was being written by a man. You could still tell that when Sheila was all up in Troy's neck, like watching him real close and getting all sweaty, that was a dude filming that. That was not a woman 100%. Filming that, right? Because I don't think the woman would have focused in on specific body parts. It might have been a little wider shot maybe, or like a moment where he's saying something, or something along those lines from a woman's perspective. So you can, maybe in these moments with a movie like this, Tyler could step back and be like, hey, help me write this if you're female, help me direct these moments if you're female, and maybe that'll make it a little more authentic. But that's that's also,
it's just the same thing. It's the same to me. It's the same of like having a white Englishman direct Slumdog Millionaire.
Exactly.
Right? It's like the same thing. Like, so having this black man not only direct black women, but also write for them. Just because you grew up with them don't mean you know them. Right. It doesn't. You might know bits and pieces, but you don't know the totality of a black woman. And you're on set with black women. You could easily be like, "What would you do in this moment? Like reading this was this cool for you? Like, what would you have said?" You know what I mean? Like, it could be more of a collaborative thing.
Which it could be. We don't know. I've never watched any of his stuff. He could have done a little of that. You think it's much more like on Tyler Perry?
I think it's more like, I wrote this. Just do the thing I wrote, so we can get it over with. I know it's gonna make money because it's me. So just do it and we'll be fine. Right. Everybody gets paid. Don't try to make this more than it needs to be. Because I heard that even on his TV shows, he's quick. He's like, know your lines. Know your stuff, because he'll film like is he like a 2-take director? I don't know. Not kind of like that, but he'll film like 10 episodes of a show.
Wow.
Or like 2 or 3 episodes of like in a day or something like that. Like he's like, it's like soap opera like type of
it's basically
directing like and writing. It's soap opera type stuff. Like he's quick on it. Like he's like, we need to get it done.
Man,
I've heard people talk about it. It is very like regimented. It's very hard. It's like, he give you a script, you better know that script when he need. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things. It's like there's no room for like, improv or ad libbing or any. There's no room. Read my words.
That's what the Madea movies are for.
Yeah. I guess.
That's what it feels like. It feels like it.
Yeah. I don't know. I enjoyed this film though. The first one is always solid to me. I enjoyed this film.
So. Yeah.
And this is based on a play as well, just like the Madea movies are. Mm-hmm. And so this was a popular play. I'm not sure if it was ever a Broadway play. I
don't think any of his shows were Broadway. I think they were all like.
But in a way that makes perfect sense. I mean, you're talking about, a very white industry.
But I will say this though, the majority of the people that watch Madea films are white people. I'm not saying that the black people don't watch it, but he has a huge white market, like huge, big, huge. Just like Julia Roberts said, big, huge. Yeah.
Well, ultimately, in a way, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but in a way, he's taking all the Madea money where he's poking fun at Black people, whether he's trying to make light of it or is being inappropriate. That's not for me to decide. But he's taking that money that those white folks are spending and then turning around and producing Black films where he's able to do something like this instead of. And I think that that's brilliant. And you were talking about his productions. If you look back, he's produced a ton of movies where like, oh, okay, I didn't know he produced for the Colored Girls, or for Colored Girls or anything like that. Like, that's awesome that he's taken this money and funneled it back into.
Yeah, he needs to do more of that though.
Agree.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's even more jarring now, like a Madea movie coming out in like 2022. Now that you have like someone like Jordan Peele, who like, so you can do it the other way though. You don't have to exploit and you know.
And not even that, like Jordan Peele, Ryan Coogler, Ava DuVernay, Gina, what's her name, Bryce, something like she did Woman King. Like, can't remember her name. Her name's like pretty long, but like can't remember her name. But like you got all these people just doing these things, and you just like low hanging fruit comedy, this slapstick away, like caricatures of Black people. Like it, I could understand you doing that in the beginning because that's what made you famous. But like now you're at a position where like you got a whole you turned the whole plantation into a studio.
Right.
Like into a studio. There's not a lot of people that have their own studios. Right. Like there isn't like it's MGM. You know what I mean? It's Lionsgate. Right. Like there's a lot of people that have studios, and this is what you do. I'm not saying you can't do this because we all need like meh movies or like not a lot of effort type
or
media.
Even slapstick films are fine.
You know what I'm saying? Even slapstick, but like. You could be doing so much more, and it's just like, dang, bro.
Put some deeper messages into the comedy there. Like, do the slapstick, a little low-hanging fruit, and then add in a like, hey, but guess what? This is a very positive message that we're trying to portray.
That's the thing he tackles. He has messages. It's just he can't help himself. Like he has to put in this other shit. Like
it's like because he does like every film that every Tyler Perry, like anything I've seen Madea in. Madea is always like, this is why people tolerate her. Because she's like the voice of wisdom. Like she'll do something and then she's the voice of wisdom. And I just need more than that because I feel like you need to evolve as an artist yourself. Like
the scenes where the guys get together are so I can't deal. Like
bro.
The fact that these four men that are supposed to be best friends, the bar with we'll get to that. The fact that they're sitting there and these two of your best friends, like this is what like my immediate thought was, this is why women say all men. It's because these four couples who have known each other since college, and you know that these two men are cheating on their wives. And it did eventually come out, but because Angela was trying to prove a point. Like that is why we eventually find out.
Yeah.
And not only did we find out that one of them is specifically cheating on his wife, but he brought his mistress with him. And you guys are letting this happen. I'm just like, my brain was like, this is the immediate for who's fronting. Like, oh, this is Sheila's friend, and Sheila felt bad for her. She felt bad because he planted a seed in your ear so his mistress could come. So, and then made you drive by yourself. Like, it was so like.
That was weird. I was like, huh?
This is the reason women say, because if these two men did not immediately get up, go in the house, tell their wives, who they know are going to say something, and immediately make this woman leave, what are we doing here?
But that just shows me that to me it's one of those things where it's like the women are friends and the men are friends, but they're not friends with each other.
No.
Right.
That's all. That's what it is. The second film. That's why I was saying the second film proved that to me. Like when I watched the second film and I came back to this one, I was like, oh, they all ain't friends. It's like the men are friends and the women are friends, and then we just tolerate each other when we're all together.
Right.
Like that's all it is.
And that's I was the like, loyalty remains in those friend groups.
And that's the loyalty remains in those friend groups. So it's just like so
I'm
part of
friends
me was
with you,
like,
but I don't like your wife. Like, okay.
Right.
It's kind of It's okay. I shouldn't have laughed, but I laughed. at this scene. When she's like, when old girl is like, this is what I one of the things I didn't like. The mistress is like, "Ooh, Sheila, Michael love you," and this girl, I was like, somebody punch her in the face.
I was
because you sleeping with my husband.
Are you kidding? I was like,
and you telling me to buy what? Did y'all make fun of that? When the next time he's like,
exactly
I was like,
what Ashley said. That's what my wife said. She said
she
thought that they were doing it to make fun of her behind her back.
That's what I'm like, what are you doing? Because I'm like, what's happening? And then when she does put it on, mind you, no matter how big she was, she looked nice in it.
Okay, it was cute.
She was cute. She looked nice in it. But okay, I shouldn't have laughed at this, but I did because it's like, again, it's a low-hanging fruit that I ate from. I ate this one, but it was funny. When she sits down and he like moves when she sits down, I was like, I chuckled. The first time I ever watched this, I chuckled. I was like, that's stupid. If you go back and watch that scene, or if you look it up on YouTube, when she sits down, his back is to her, and she sits down, and he moves because of her sitting down, like moved him. I shouldn't have laughed, but I did. I giggled.
Oh my God.
Because it's so stupid. Because it's so stupid. Because it's so stupid. It's so stupid. Because she didn't even sit down that hard. It's like so stupid.
Right.
But it just adds to his character being a dickwad. That's all. It's just like, but you know.
Jeez.
I was just like, and then she just sitting there with no cover, just sad because she bought this outfit. And I'm just like,
so bad for her.
Somebody burn this man.
Like so facts. Like
I just cannot because. And then the second film just makes it worse. See, Ashley giggled too. Come on, Baxi, I love you. But like, the second movie makes their relationship worse because again, Tyler Perry does not. He loves information, but then he doesn't love information at the same time. Because the second film felt so disjointed from the first one because it was stuff in between. It was stuff you see it, you watched it. He just watched it.
He like jars, like
he's like,
but like way exaggerated.
No, it's super exaggerated,
and no one else saw it, so he did it for his own amusement.
His own, because they're in the bedroom together.
And she didn't see it; she was turned away from him.
She didn't see it. He exactly.
I was just dick. So he's like, such a dick.
No, that's what I'm saying. It makes it even worse. But I'm just saying that like Tyler Perry doesn't like to add in like exposition, like fillers, like tell us what's going on. Like it's a big gap between the first and second one, and then the way you get back into it, it doesn't make sense. It's like everybody changed into different characters in the second one. That's what it felt like. Everybody was different in the second one. And there's nothing leading up to why this character has changed or why they're different or why attitudes it was just.
This is what happens when a year or 7 passes. You can't tell who you are when you can't tell how long it's been. Right? It's been a year more. It's been 7.
Plus 6.
But who is it? You know, for the Angela character, it's been a year, but for Tyler's character, it's been 7. So yeah, you know,
everybody lived on different. You know, time is a construct. So that's how Tyler Perry does his films. Time is a construct. So
it's the Tyler Perry or the TCU, the Tyler Perry.
The TPU.
He's been messing with time, right? Universe? Doctor Strange came in, messed with time.
No, exactly.
Do you guys think that Terry was right to take the phone away from Diane? And like basically tell her to stay off the phone for the weekend.
Yes, I might not like the way he did it because no matter if she's your wife or not, she's a grown woman. So don't treat me like a child.
Well, yeah, maybe not the way he did it.
Did he take her phone? He told her secretary not to call her.
Yeah.
That's true.
So telling her secretary he answered her phone while she was sleeping.
Right.
While she was work on her lap. And I was like, she didn't care at that point, you know what I mean? And he knew that, and he was like, I'm not planning on having a fight about this, but you're not going to tell her to stop calling, so I'm going to tell her to stop calling. We're on vacation to work on our marriage, and you persistently taking phone calls tells me you don't care about working on our marriage. So at the very least, I'm going to stop the phone calls from coming in.
I feel like that's not his right, though. I'm like, that's not his right, though. Like, husband or wife or not, she's wrong. Don't get it twisted. Like we said we was gonna go on this vacation. You said you was gonna cut the work down a little bit so we can like bond more and talk and all this kind of stuff. Because she was using work as a deflection because she didn't have no peace.
Right.
So that's already like you already mess up on that end. But he's messing up too because like you don't tell I pay this girl. She's my assistant. I told her to call me. you don't tell her not to call me. Like the assistant won't go tell her.
Right.
Your husband told me not to call you.
He did seem
She paid me. I
shocked.
don't
He
care
was
about
like,
you.
she knows. Although I love his answer. She was like, "Can we go talk about this?" He's like, "No."
He was like, "No," because and then again, I don't think he was right. But that relationship to me might have seemed like the most real in the sense of like how they reacted to each other, how they did things, like, you know, back and forth. Because like he had no right to do that. But then also, don't say we coming on this trip and you gonna talk to me when you at work. Like, don't. We both wrong. We both doing stuff wrong. But it's like, you know. I get what he was doing, but they both a little shady.
Agreed. Let's see here. I'm trying to look through some of the production photos so I could think of other scenes, because it really just kind of blends together and there's enough dialogue that you're like,
okay, well, the scene that Snitty talked about, the scene where, you know, they all go to Patricia's like award thingy or whatever. And this is like the first time everybody's seen seen Sheila since the trip thingy, which to me, that's weird. If I'm your friend, if we friends, like best friends, and we always see each other, like, I done went to Colorado 1 or 2 more times just to make sure he was good, to check on you. You let her stay in Colorado with this stranger. I don't care if he came to eat for 1 day.
Well, yeah.
For 8 months.
He's a cop.
Like,
you know,
no
he's a sheriff.
pictures. Like, the thing about this is like, at the time, because of course we're seeing the cellular technology, but it's like at that point, like, we were still emailing pictures. Like, she just take a picture and email it to you.
Like, we need to call every day. Like, it needs to be a thing. Like, you don't.
Her
it's
MySpace? Like,
something.
MySpace would have been accurate. Maybe Facebook a little.
No, something. You know, something, because it's like let's. I couldn't imagine just like my friend not coming back with us. You know what I mean? Like, we all here together. We all leave together, or we all like make sure everybody gets home. And like, come on now. And then like, okay. That scene at the end when they're at her thing, and then she sees the mistress. I can't remember her name. Trina. I don't know where Shelly came from. Don't worry about that.
I corrected you on a name. That's weird.
Yes, I'm so proud of you. Look at you.
Now I have to make sure I was right. Okay, no, it's Trina.
No, right? He's like, yeah, it's Trina. So like when she sees Trina, and she's like, I'm not gonna say I don't like that scene. I just wish it could have been directed differently now. And I get that, like, Jill Scott she was like a fresh actor, you know, kind of new. And so like different takes, and Tyler Perry, for all intents and purposes, he's not an actor. So he's not like an actor's director. He's not like an actor that's like a director. They can direct you the way he needs. He's still a director who became an actor, or who's trying to become an actor. So it's like a disconnect there. But like when she's like, beat that ass. I don't like any of I don't like her cadence in that scene. That her cadence in that scene is like very weird to me. And she's like, watch out for the wine bottles. It's still fake. It's like you're not being, because if you see her in that scene, it's like none of them have never seen a horror movie. Like if you ever seen that scene like that, you take that scene and then you take Sheila in the second one, it's way different. And it's because Jill Scott's a different actress by then. Like, she got her own TV show. She did some stuff. She did, you know what I mean? And it's different now. But that scene was just like, it's very stagnant. It's very like, it's like somebody's beating a drum like, doom, 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 doom. And you want them to be like, doom, doom. You want them to do more. Like, you want there to be like a thing. And she's just like, nope, doom, doom. And it's just like the slowest of, I'm just like, I like that she got back at her, but it was just very much like, slap her or something. Like, I don't know. Add something to it. Something.
Why don't we go ahead and, unless anybody else has anything specific they want to say about this film, we do have the pre-review and a whole other film to talk about.
Pre-review.
We did start a little late, so I wanted to make sure we had plenty of time. Anything else you guys want to say?
That was on me, guys. Apologies.
No, it happens. No worries. If I'm late, the show doesn't start. So I'm the only one that has to truly be on time. So, speaking of which, before we rate this movie,
look at the merch.
Real Study shirts. I'm just going to stand up and show this off. Yeah. So those are available on the Just Some SNIDBitS website. If you guys want Real Study beanies, hats, shirts, I'm going to make a sweatshirt even. You know, just let me know if you guys want.
Tell everybody where they can find us, Penny?
Yeah, Just Some SNIDBitS at Shopify. You can also find a bunch of other shirts. My wife has drawn a bunch of very cool horror. My wife has drawn a bunch of cool horror stuff, as well as just fun movie stuff. ridiculous shirts. And, you know, if you want some MrSniDBitS merch, it's on there too, but there's not a lot. Little bit. Thought I'd put that out there. Should have put that out there at the beginning. But, you know, that's how
In
I
the
roll.
future, we got more episodes.
We do. So why don't we go ahead and rate this film? Ray, you did go first. Why don't we have you rate first? Rate first time you saw it and how you feel now.
I would say the first time, like I would say I maybe would generously give it like an 8. I think I if I remember, I think I really liked it. This time I would still probably give it like a 7.5. Like I think it still carried itself, and I didn't like my kind of gauge is how many times do I have to pause it to like keep myself engaged, and I watched this straight through. So,
all right, that tells me. How about you, Tyler?
Yeah, I'd probably give it about a 7 to usually like that's a good gauge actually, because sometimes I'll put movies on while I'm working on stuff, and like this one I put my stuff on the side and I'm like actually like invested in what's happening. So give it a 7. It's good.
I like it. And this was your first viewing?
Yeah, this is my first time for this one.
And how about you, La?
First time I've seen it, I'll probably give it like a 9. First time I saw it, I was like, this is solid. This is really good. And now I'll give it a nice 7. It's still a solid 7, but it's a 7 because it's just, you know, aging. We all age, and some of us age well, and some of us don't. And this film still aged decently well, but it was just being a little bit older. I'm like, there's just some stuff that I would have done differently. And if I can say that to your film, like I could I bring your rating down just a little bit. If I could sit here and be like, oh, you could have done this instead of doing this, it's a, you know, kind of rate you a little lower. But yeah, what about you, Snitty?
I'm gonna give this movie an 8. I really liked it. I had seen clips out of it several times. My wife loved this movie when it came out. We kind of had just met the year before this movie came out, so like she's been watching this the whole time we've been together. Maybe that's where all the smart marriage stuff came from. Anyway, so it's all her, and I didn't even know it. No, I'd like to think it's both of us. But that does ask the question, since I know that there is a person on the panel that does have a current girlfriend, but then I've never even asked the status of the other 2 individuals on the panel. You guys ever plan on getting married? How does marriage stack up? Like,
I'm sad and lonely.
Sad and lonely. Okay,
I'm gonna let the universe decide that, but the answer at this very second, 100% single.
Okay.
Horizon is dead.
But if the right person came along, you're open to it.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm single, but I'm open. I'm not single and closed.
Okay.
I'm single and open. I take marriage and children very, very heavily.
Sure.
So I don't play with stuff like that. So like I have to be very secure in what relationship I am in before I decide any type of marriage, any type of children, if I want children at all. But I need to be secure in that person to have that conversation.
Fair enough. How about you, Tyler?
Sure.
Not to put you on the spot, you know.
I told my girlfriend I had this conversation already, like because I'm gonna be with her forever, so it's like we can get married whenever. Then like it doesn't like because I told her too, like even if we were to like split up, I don't picture myself being with anybody else, to be honest. Like I'll just do like this is fine too.
Yeah. You remind me of the older couple from the second movie a little bit there.
Yeah,
a little bit. Not that like you had to break up to have it happen, but like, you know, meant to be
with the
anyway.
accents. I'm sorry. I was like, why did they need accents, yo?
First of all, we get into these accents.
Doesn't she have an accent and Louis Gossett Jr. doesn't?
No, Ashley does not have an accent.
Oh, okay. I was like, Louis, I know Louis doesn't, but like.
Definitely. Yeah, no.
I was like, what we doing? I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it sounded like she did because he had one kind of, and like.
I was crying. I was like, I forgot that they were in here, and I forgot that they got these.
Oh, you know, I was looking at the cover, and I was like, Louis Gossett Jr. Does he play like somebody's dad or something? Like he hasn't been around in a while. Like, what's he doing? Okay, so we're gonna move over to the pre-review. Of course, Biggie has got all the new movies coming out this week. Go ahead and check this out, and we will be right back.
Biggie's pre-review brought to you by The Real Study, Sunday nights, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific.
Welcome to Biggie's Pre-Review. The Pre-Review is where I tell you about upcoming movies coming to movie theaters and beyond. This is for the week March 6th through 12th, 2023. First on my list is Far Away. In this comedy, drama, romance, Zeynep is unhappy. That's why she flees to a Croatian island, where her deceased mother bought a house long ago. She hopes to find peace and relaxation finally, but she hasn't reckoned with Joseph, who still lives on the property. This movie stars Naomi Kraus and Goran Bogdan. There's definitely going to be some romance in this one. Can't wait. Far Away premieres on Netflix on March 8th. Next up is the sports drama comedy Champions. A former minor league basketball coach is ordered by the court to manage a team of players with intellectual disabilities. He soon realizes that despite his doubts, together, this team can go further than they ever imagined. This movie stars Woody Harrelson, Caitlin Olsen, Ernie Hudson, and Cheech Marin, just to name a few. This movie looks like it's going to be great for a laugh, and also it looks like it's got some heart to it, you know? The movie Champions premieres in movie theaters on March 10th. Here's one I've been waiting for, Scream 6. In this horror slasher, 4 survivors of the Ghostface murders leave Woodsboro behind for a fresh start in New York City. However, they soon find themselves in a fight for their lives when a new killer embarks on a bloody rampage. This movie stars Jenna Ortega, Hayden Panettiere is returning, Melissa Barrera, Samara Weaving, Jack Champion, Courtney Cox, amongst others. Now, this movie looks, to me, much more gritty than any of the past Scream films, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. Scream 6 premieres in movie theaters on March 10th. Next on my list is Luther, The Fallen Son. In this crime drama mystery, a serial killer terrorizes London, while disgraced detective John Luther sits behind bars. Haunted by his failure to capture the cyber psychopath who now taunts him, Luther decides to break out of prison to finish the job by any means necessary. This movie stars Idris Elba, Cynthia Erivo, and Andy Serkis, amongst others. Now, this, of course, is the continuation of the Luther TV show from the BBC. Idris Elba is always great in everything, and I'm looking forward to this. Luther, The Fallen Son premieres on Netflix on March 10th. Next on my list is Chang Can Dunk. A young Asian American teen and basketball fanatic who just wants to dunk and get the girl ends up learning much more about himself, his best friends, and his mother. This movie stars Bloom Lee, Chase Liefeld, Dexter Darden, Zoe Renee, and Ben Wang. The sports family drama Chang Can Dunk premieres on Disney Plus on March 10th. Here's one that looks really good, Righteous Thieves. In this thriller, the head of a secret organization assembles a crew to steal back artwork plundered by Nazis during World War II. This movie stars Jaina Lee Ortiz, Carlos Miranda, Lisa Vidal, Sasha Mercy, and Cam Gigandent. This movie looks like the epitomal heist movie, but it's just a little cooler. The thriller Righteous Thieves has a limited release in movie theaters and starts video on demand on March 10th. Now it's time for a fantasy musical with The Magic Flute. Tim has been dreaming his whole life about attending music school, but his first days confront him with a hostile headmaster, the stresses of a first love, and serious doubts about the authenticity of his singing voice. When he discovers a mystical gateway in the school's library, he gets pulled into a fantastic cosmos of Mozart's opera, The Magic Flute, where imagination has no limits and the Queen of the Night reigns supreme. This movie stars Jack Wolf, Ewan Rion, and F. Murray Abraham, just to name a few. The movie The Magic Flute has a limited release in movie theaters on March 10th. Next on my list is the movie Punch. In this drama, Jim is preparing for his first professional fight, but begins to rethink his life's trajectory and his sexuality after tangling with Wetu, a gay Maroni boy who spends his days in an old shack down by the beach. This movie stars Tim Roth, Jordan Oosterhoff, and Conan Hayes. It looks like we're going to see some great performances in this, and I'm always down for Tim Roth. The movie Punch has a limited release in movie theaters and starts video on demand on March 10th. All right, last on my list, but certainly not least, is Bottoms. In the comedy Bottoms, two unpopular queer high school students start a fight club to have sex before graduation. This movie stars Rachel Senow, Ayo Edebiri, Ruby Cruz, Kaya Jordan, Marshawn Lynch, and this movie is also co-produced by Elizabeth Banks. The comedy Bottoms has a limited release in movie theaters starting March 11th. Well, that looks like it's all for the pre-review this week, and I hope to see you out there.
And welcome back from the pre-review. This is, of course, The Real Study, Season 2, Episode 21. We are well past halfway through this season, which, by the way, good point. We are going to be taking a small spring break, of course, because spring break, why not? We could all use a week off. And then we will, of course, do our normal summer break, but that isn't for months. Many episodes to come. All right. We are going to get back into this. We are talking about Tyler Perry films, and we're getting on to Why Did I Get Married 2? That's TOO, for those that are paying attention.
Or the number 2.
It's one of those movies where it gets said in the movie. You know, it's one of those movies.
It does. And I was like...
I love those scenes.
Okay.
Are you Peter Griffin? You're like, oh, are you that guy that does it?
Yeah.
All right. So Why Did I Get Married 2? We pick up with the same characters, some ambiguous amount of time between 1 and 7 years later. We can prove this by the fact that they had a baby, but the kid is at least 6. I stopped on him to look at him, and I was like, that kid is at least 6 years old, maybe 5, but he's not 3 or 1. I have a 2-year-old.
He's minimum of
4 year old, right?
But he was
my 4-year-old. No, he was speaking
he was
very clearly. He was dressed really nicely.
Yeah.
He didn't have food all over him. He was not under 5.
And also, even the daughter didn't age well. I was like, should she be a touch older?
And then Angela's kids or Angela and what's his name?
Yeah, him. Let's call him him. I don't know.
What is his name?
I don't remember his name,
Max?
actually.
Is it Max?
No, it's not at all. That's too.
Marcus.
That's too white.
It was an M.
There you go.
Marcus.
I was like, that's too white.
You got Marcus's Marcus's girl and her boy, I think, or something like that. Anyway,
something like that, yeah.
But they were exactly the same age as the other girl still.
They didn't age. They should have been high school. They should have been
teenagers, right? 14, something like that. Yeah, totally.
Something like that. Yeah.
But anyway, we're on another vacation. And of course, since the last one was in Colorado and it was snowy, you knew they had to go tropical. So, of course, we're going somewhere tropical. Bahamas. And we're picking up now. Sheila's been married to Troy. Spoiler if you didn't already talk about the first film with us. And of course, I had to look and see that Mike was in the film before I watched it, just because I was curious. I was like, are they going to bring him in? And of course they bring him in.
Of course.
So
painful.
Why don't we start with Law this time? What did you think of Why Did I Get Married 2?
Oh, this one was bad, y'all. So again, as always with Tyler Perry films, he had some nice moments. In this one, these did have some nice moments. But story-wise and character, you know me, I always say this, I say this every time. I love a good character-driven film. I love it when characters evolve. I love it. What's the point of having a movie if the characters don't do nothing? But you took Angela at the end of the first one. Angela was like, "I'm done drinking." She's still drinking in this.
Right.
I was like, because my thing is this: her being loud and being like, "I don't care about people say," that has something to do with her drinking. So she could have stopped being a drunk and just been like her. I'm just like, okay, whatever. So you regressed her character. You upped Marcus's character, but you still kept him at a place where he keeping like secrets. He got 2 phones. She don't know about 2 phones. If you're not cheating, give me a passcode.
Hold on. To be fair, that second phone he bought because she stole his phone. So he bought a burner just to have a phone to call people because he was busy and had work.
But here's the thing though, right? You don't, but you still not telling her what's going on.
Right.
That's their biggest issue.
I agree.
Is they're not telling each other what's going on.
He could barely deal with her with the one phone. I don't know if he could even try to find a way to explain a second phone to her without.
Stop being scared of this. Stop being
no,
scared
I agree.
of this.
But that, like, she is scary. Like, she is scary.
No, I
like,
get
she
it.
is.
But here's my thing, though.
Yeah.
She's scary, but you still with her, right? If you got to do all that, don't be with her. But you not letting her go, no matter what craziness she do. So learn how to talk to her and learn how to step up a little bit. You know,
deal
what I mean?
with her crazy is what you're saying.
Deal with her craziness.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just crazy to me. You got Terry and Diane looking like they the perfect couple, but they mimicking what Patricia and old boy was doing in the first one, which is lying to each other. She out here having listen, the dumbest scene in that movie. Hold on, I gotta sit up for this. The dumbest scene in this movie was when all them boys at the table together, and he talking about saying Tyler Perry had enough nerve to write this for himself to say. Talk about some
either he felt it or he wanted to feel it or something.
It's not like men, you know what I'm saying? We could just have sex with anybody, put the money on the table and leave, but women, you know what I'm saying? She just had an emotional
the audacity.
I was like, the audacity to sit here and say that she can't, like, she cheated on you emotionally and it's way worse than that she had sex, because men can just have sex and it's nothing. I was like, this is some dated writing. I said, what is happening?
Both of those
here?
things can be absolutely true the opposite way. There are men that get emotional, and there are plenty of women that don't get emotionally attached. Like, period.
Literally.
Like,
so I'm just like, stop generalizing this and making it seem like this is a woman's thing and this is a men thing. No, people do this. People can do this. It doesn't matter. Women and anything like that. I can flirt with a dude and still be in a relationship and still love this person. But I can flirt and then go about my day. But she was like flirting, then coming home and having sex with him.
No, and what she was doing, she went out to dinner. She was taking phone calls.
You know what I mean?
She was going a little further. She was one step away from cheating.
No, she was. And she for sure. And she didn't do anything, and that's great on her. But like, that little conversation was dumb. It was a whole dumb conversation. I was like, sir, that has nothing to do with women and everything to do with people who just do stuff like that. And then you got Sheila and Troy, which, to me, is it Sheila that's making these men like this? Because like that's the way that it's written to me, is that like she's the reason why these dudes are doing what they're doing. It's you went from her being like, I'm in this great relationship with this man, and like her character is damaged, right? And they show that, and I like that they show that, because that's true. When you are in a bad relationship, it's hard to realize that you're in a good one, or it's hard to realize that some stuff was going on. But he made a good point when he was like, I thought you left, because every time we get into an argument, you threaten to leave. And they never like close that loop of like her being like, I'm sorry, I need to do better about this. And I need to stop threatening my disappearance every time you don't talk to me. And like, and I understood Troy in that movie, because I was sitting here like, he couldn't even walk upstairs, and she's like, well, just talk to me. He was like, he yelled at her. He shouldn't have yelled. But I understand why he did it, because it's like, you're choking me. I can't find a job. I can't support my family. I'm not even in the same state that I grew up in. And I'm trying my best, and you're choking me with wanting to be around me every time and talking about this. I don't feel like talking.
I think you just watched this movie. It feels like it's all very fresh on your mind.
This was the last movie that I watched.
I had a feeling. It wasn't me too. I watched it like 2 hours before the show.
Yeah, this is the last movie that I watched. I watched this hours ago, but I was like, this is like the last movie that I watched. But it was just like, it's one of those things where it's just like, but also I remember movies pretty well. But I was like, what happened to the character development? He just threw it out the window, and that hurts me. But continue.
No, you're good. Tyler. Oh, sorry, Ray. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it made sense, like not what you're saying, because they addressed it the other way, where she said, I have been hurt and I don't like you shutting me out, but didn't address her being clingy in the reverse, that she was holding on so tight
because of what previously happened to her.
Exactly. Right. She was like, I don't want to give you space to grow distant from me like he did. Like, I feel like that was a fear, but they didn't verbalize that fear or address her attachment being negative. The fact that she was so clingy and she needed him to be fully transparent. No one is fully transparent. It's impossible, because sometimes you don't even want to say the things out loud to yourself. You can't say them out loud to someone else. And so, but he had been kind of hinting. I didn't even take over your spotlight, but he had been kind of hinting at it, because when they got to the Bahamas, and he was like really worried about having to pay for the trip and not having any money when they got home. Like they only partially build that character out, and that's where I think some of the stagnancy goes. Sorry, go ahead, Tyler.
No.
You're good.
Oh, you can go.
You're
I'm
totally
still
good.
like
The
thinking.
fact that,
Yeah,
and the
just
fact that he wasn't in the movie as much as he should have been. Is he a friend or is he not a friend? Like, which one is it? Why isn't he at the bar hanging out with y'all? I mean, like he was, but like he wasn't. It's like why? What are we doing?
She's Sheila's man,
why-
not their friend. So anyway,
They
Tyler,
allegedly
Right.
been married for
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ty.
what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely didn't like this one as much as I liked the first one. I do want to talk about like the last like 15 minutes of the movie. This is like, that was the problem, was like they would set up a lot of stuff and then not really get into it. And the last 15 minutes, I'm like, why are we introducing, I guess he has cancer now? I was like, what is this plot point? And then what's his face he dies in a car crash. I'm like, guys, we only got like 5 more minutes, Tyler. Like you gotta
Car crash
That's my
is also a little hard to buy a death from, but that's
100%.
hard
It's
to.
not
But
even
I'm
on
not
his.
saying
It
it's not
wasn't even on his
possible. It's
side.
possible.
Right.
But it wasn't even on his side, and
It
he
wasn't.
didn't even crush.
Yeah.
And that
Very
truck was
didn't
going
even-
20, 25.
And then he didn't
maybe.
even crush. Like I would believe it if he crushed into something else. Like if if the truck hit him and then he hit something else,
Or if
on
it
his side.
exploded, like just at least do that trope for me,
Something.
like
Correct.
something that shows me
I was just
he's
like-
dead.
What,
Like,
he didn't have a seatbelt
Yeah.
on? Like, we got no
yeah, they didn't even tell
I
us.
call it
how bad
the
was.
plot truck. It came in for plot.
Right.
It's like, oh,
Right.
we have to tie this, whatever, I guess.
She needs to
also-
feel
I'm
bad
sorry.
and
I'm
like
sorry.
worry, and then the
But
rest
she
of
didn't.
them
But she didn't.
right.
need
But
to
she didn't
move
feel bad.
on
She didn't
because
feel
without
bad
him
enough.
dying, they wouldn't move on.
I'm sorry, she didn't feel bad enough. It went from her being like, want to be this good person to like get him like a man stripper at his job. Like that doesn't even
That
equate.
was wild.
None of that equated to what he did. Like I understand that he did some foul stuff.
Wild.
Because you took
No,
a character.
he like
You-
like
but
he,
you took a
he almost did.
character-
Well, he did unforgivable stuff. Like
He did, but you took a that didn't even like. How did you flip his switch? That like he didn't even seem like that person in the first one.
Yeah,
and in the
that was
second
what was
one,
weird.
he's
I
getting
liked
drunk
Gavin
and
in the
he
first
all-
one. I was like, oh, he's like the most
he-
reasonable
no,
dude out of
literally.
all of the people.
But how did he go from that? Like, there's no. It's like you get this and this, and then it's stuff in between. And he was like, y'all connect the dots yourself. Like that's what it feels like. He's like, y'all figure that out.
That's what I was gonna say, because you mentioned like Tyler Perry. Like I think he actually gives a lot of exposition. He just doesn't give the right exposition. Like
It's
something we
dialogue.
don't need.
But it's not
Yeah.
necessarily exposition because he's just these two characters sitting around bullshitting. But what is that leading to? What is that guiding
Right.
you to? Like, it's a
Like
bunch
it
of
should have
scenes
been
crammed together.
conversations.
Right.
It should have been conversations about Mike disappearing, like somewhere, or like, yeah, he said he's tired. Why does he always keep saying he's tired? Like, what's going on with him? And whoop de whoop. But then you have the
Right.
one. You had that one
Or
scene
why
where she
did he
comes
show
in,
up? Right?
or why did he show up and stuff like that. Like, or people, or like the fact that Sheila is the only person that was like, why you being so nice?
Right.
Everybody should have noticed that he being too nice. There's something's wrong if he being this
Everyone.
nice.
Right.
Oh,
Everybody
you
should
miss
know
her
this.
now after you talked about her and treated her like a dog
Exactly.
for
I
your
was like,
entire marriage?
you're
Like,
gonna make me buy
now you
this?
miss her?
What about when she was like, when he was like, I miss you and I want to talk to you. And she was like, you know what I remember? I remember the blood that I had to clean up from that. I remember that hole that you pushed me in the wall. I was like, wait. Bro was abusive? I was like, wait. I was like,
They did
so
retcon
wrong.
him
And
being
he was
abusive
beating
too.
her? Like,
Right.
I was like, so was he hitting you in the first one? And you was still like, bring Trina on the
That's
thing
what
with
it
us. Like,
seemed
what are
like.
you
No,
doing?
it was more like he was just mean to her, and they've been
It's not
together
even
since
just
they were
mean.
teenagers.
Yeah.
And now you telling us that he hit you? And I was like, wait, what?
And why are you so
out
swoon
of the
for him?
blue.
Right?
Out of the blue.
I'm just like, what's happening?
He
There's actually a lot of character reversals. in this
Wait.
It was a lot of character reversals. Like,
For
and then
no
it's like,
reason.
get Gavin and Patricia's characters like blowing up.
They got
Like,
further
because
apart because of the kid.
because they
Like that
kept-
makes sense.
because they
Right.
kept holding on. Like they kept like, we're fine. We're fine.
And
They
she
said, "We're fine"
refused
for
to
the
ever
first
look
one.
at the picture of the kid. She refused to ever accept it. There were things.
She's the
But the burning of
worst.
that book,
That
man, that floored me. I was like, my stomach was hurting.
The burning of the baby book.
That hurt
That whole
me.
scene floored me. I was like, what is happening?
Absolute
That
devastation.
was some raw,
The
real shit.
scene
That's
of
him
him-
doing well at this, right? Go ahead.
Like the fact that he like him attack. Like I almost fast forwarded through that scene,
Him
like-
attacking her,
Mm.
grabbing her,
Yes.
pushing her.
Yeah.
and I was like,
on her
like
face and
Malik's
stuff.
not that small of a guy. He's a pretty big
No,
guy
he's a big
compared to how
dude.
small Emmett is. And I was like, I don't love this. This feels very out of place. There was no basis in those characters, and this is where we kind of not just the reversal, but just like not full characters
Mhm.
that would say that one, he had a drinking problem. Where did we even learn that? And two, that it would be this bad that he would be physically abusive to her.
Right.
Usually there's some inkling of that before you get drunk, and making drunk
Correct.
makes it
Yeah.
worse, right?
But that's what I'm
Like,
saying. There's
usually.
no like we don't like the fact that he dies, pun not intended, kills me because her character never grows.
Not at all.
Her character doesn't grow a lick from his death. Like this would have been an opportune time to have it so like he's like, we did the best we can for him, but like now it's up to him or whatever it is. And then she went to go have a conversation with him, and then they started spilling their guts. And this is how I feel about this. And like I did cry, but I cried in private because I couldn't hold this and all this kind of stuff. And then she's like, well, go home, get some sleep. And then like he dies in the next scene or something like that overnight.
Yeah,
but, like,
overnight.
Yeah.
The same exact. He could die in the car the same way. Like, it
she
wouldn't matter.
does not grow at all. And then I'm supposed to be happy that The Rock appeared to her. Like, do
Oh, yeah,
I
the
care?
Black Adam cameo. Yeah, I didn't like that.
Like, do I care?
Deal.
I
I
was
was
like,
like,
I was
is she
hoping
smiling? We'll be
for
mad to have
anyone
kids with him
else.
too.
I don't
so
know
what's the
why. I
point?
was expecting anyone else besides The Rock.
Well, then the movie ends there for
Well, that
whatever
movie. Okay,
reason.
so the first movie ends with like, look, marriage has its downsides, but look, you do well enough, you can bring it up. And yes, some people have it bad, right? The second movie, I'm
Right.
like, I want to go kill myself right now. This is so depressing because of how
Oh,
terrible
yeah.
everything ends for everyone.
Everyone,
Nothing
yeah.
is good for pretty much any of the characters in this movie, except
No,
maybe
she
Troy and
forces
Sheila.
them.
know.
She forces them in like she forces them in the weirdest way to like fix this. Like she's
I
like
liked that part.
I'm just like I
you like that
don't.
part?
I like
I don't-
sappy shit,
I don't-
so it worked for me.
No, but my thing is this. I feel like they were on their road. They were on their way to fix it, but like y'all only fixing it because my man's in the hospital. Y'all not fixing it because y'all really want to fix it. Like y'all only fixing it because of this tragedy. To me, that's a trope I don't like. Like,
Yes.
like we mad at each other, and then somebody dies, and we're like, life is too short.
No, they all could have just been
to be
kissing for her
angry. I
sake.
hate-
We don't know. We haven't seen part
You
3
no,
yet.
no, you
know?
never see. I hope we don't. I hope there's not a part 3 because
They're in talks for
But
part 3, by the way.
I know.
And
Keep
especially
talking.
the
I
Real
don't need a
Study's
part
doing
3.
this, so now it's guaranteed.
Keep
Because whatever we
watching.
do
It's gonna be
this,
called.
they make a movie. I don't know how that happens.
No, for sure. It was just too much. It was just too much disjointedness in this
Mhm.
film. And you took characters that we liked, that we grew with in the first one, and you regressed them for what entertainment purposes. Like it could still be entertaining. Like even if they wanted to get divorced or break up or anything, and then on top of that too, she get her money back because they were still married and he dead.
He gets it.
You
He
did
gets
all
it
that
all
shit.
now.
Like that was my immediate thought and shoot. I'm like, well, now you don't have to split the money.
Now
with
she's
us
a
anymore.
millionaire.
I was just so heartbroken for that storyline. It was like, I get that some couples just do not survive the loss of a child. They just don't. I've seen it not necessarily in the case where a child dies, but a far into term miscarriage or something like that. Like that will break a couple up for sure. And then for her to be this alleged expert, and it's of course experts don't always have the best relationships. Like sometimes they don't take their own advice, or they're too busy trying to put on a front. And obviously that's what they were doing. But like the logistics, like the narrative logistics, it's like I don't understand why it can't make sense. Like we said, like that crash wouldn't have killed anyone unless you were on the passenger side of that car.
No,
and
literally.
then maybe barely.
Not
because,
unless you
like,
had
it
like
would
a
have made
weird
more
hit or something. Like it would be weird.
Right. It would have made
No
more sense
seatbelt.
if he was like paralyzed and then she had to take care of him. But of course, they've already done that trope, which was essentially what happened in Diary of a Mad Black Woman. We don't see that movie again. Like, so the way that this story kind of played out, like with all of the couples, like Troy and Sheila, they might be fine. He's gonna be mad that she lied and got Mike to get him the job. And then Gavin is dead, so who knows what's gonna happen to Pat. She's gonna go on tour and then be with The Rock or whatever. And then now we have the same exact resolution, from Angela and Marcus, which is you are the toxic one. Like, yes, he screws up and he's an idiot, and he may or may not still be cheating on her. I almost doubt it, but we don't have any definitive way in the story to notice.
Right.
He's busy with work, but it's like you're driving him away.
Yeah, he's really busy. We did get that from
the storyline with Terry and Diane, like theirs was the most realistic. Like, I mean, of this cast, like Cheryl is the most seasoned. You know, she's the most seasoned actress. Like, she was the one giving the best performance.
Yeah.
But still, he's okay. I guess we're just okay with the fact that she was having an emotional affair, and we're just gonna move past that with no real.
It doesn't make sense from the last movie either. Like, that just doesn't. She's the one that went back to him and begged for him to come back to her because she was so wrong, and she saw how many great things he had. Why would she see this list of great things and then all of a sudden be like, I met an attorney and he was.
He makes me laugh.
He makes me laugh. It's
and
like,
he's an attorney.
Was his makes me laugh not on that pros list you have? I bet you it was on that list. So what are you talking about?
That makes it so funny. She was like, he works at a different firm and he's funny. He makes me laugh and he's an attorney. Okay, like
so you go out to dinner once and start wearing cute bras. Like,
so
what
you
are we
both
talking
talk about the
about?
law. That doesn't. So does the guy that's 80 years old down the road. That doesn't make
for sure. Like, you ain't about to go
I don't know.
out to dinner with him and do something with him. It's just
it felt weird.
It's not. But also, like, to me, Troy's character just felt weird because it was just like in the first one, he was like, I'm a police officer.
And he was
I'm a
nice
sheriff.
guy, right?
I'm a nice guy.
Nice dude.
I'm level-headed, and I get it. You here now. You don't have a job, but that doesn't mean you stop being a cop internally, mentally. So, like, you just walk up into this man's house because she hear you punch him in the face.
No.
What, you pull him off a couch, like, you know, and then your wife is trying to talk to you. You're like, don't touch me.
Two things
don't
about
touch me.
Troy.
What is happening?
Right. Two things about Troy. One, he came from a well-to-do family. We saw his dad's house, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he had this pride issue about making money. I just don't feel that would have been part of his character with that particular past. When you come from money, you're not like, I gotta make my own. Maybe, you know, he did as a sheriff make his own way, but I don't know. That felt like a weird character shift. And then when he went and apologized to Mike for punching him in the face, I don't give a fuck if you have cancer. You're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Dude. You're a piece of shit. Like, I'm not apologizing to you. Like,
you just said you don't
He's
like
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
You wish he
but you do know that he beat her. Like,
right. And you know that now too. Like, why are you apologizing to him? So it felt like a completely
you don't get
different
forgiven
character.
just because you got cancer. Shut
Exactly.
up.
I hate that as like a narrative thing. You're like, oh, he has cancer. I'm like, oh yeah, well,
Everybody love him now.
all is forgiven now.
No.
Sorry. Sorry for you.
Some of the biggest pieces of shit have cancer, and we're kind of glad they do. Like, no offense.
Why didn't
but,
she tell? Why didn't she just tell him that? Like, why did it have to be a whole
absolutely
secret?
could have said anything.
Literally.
Mind you, right before she was all in bed with him, was like, this doesn't work if we don't talk to each other. You can't ignore me.
And then she just does that.
You couldn't tell me that old boy got me the job. You couldn't tell me that
immediately
he got cancer. You couldn't tell me all this stuff immediately. Like, what are we doing?
Just saying I'm sorry doesn't help.
The span of that walkthrough was, I don't want you to cut me out. You have to be open and honest with me. I'm going to get up the next day and go ask my ex-husband, who is a golf buddy of the sheriff, to give you a job. I'm going to lie about it.
And who
I'm
we
going to
both
find
know,
out
who we
that
both
he has
know you don't
cancer.
Right.
And I'm going to start driving him to chemo. Where is our baby when you're taking him to chemo? Like, I'm so confused. And the fact is, like, at that point, it would have made more character sense for her to be like, hey, I want to talk to you about something. I know this is going to upset you. I was only looking out for you because I know you've been applying. And I talked to Mike, who knows the sheriff. He's going to give you a job or give you an interview or get your foot in the door or something. And when I went to talk to him, I found out that the reason he's been so nice, that he's been kind of paying more attention to me while he was so weird on the vacation, is because he found out he had cancer and he needs someone to take him to the hospital for his chemo treatment.
Right, that makes too much sense.
Yeah, no, he
And
could
we
have
would've
asked
never-
any of his friends.
yeah.
He really could have.
That makes too much sense.
You know,
Because at that point,
makes
I
so
would
much
have been like, man, if I knew that, then I'm like, you know what? Maybe then I can go take him to chemo, or like you going by yourself to go take this guy to chemo is like
Correct. I
so
don't feel
weird.
comfortable with that.
Right.
Why don't I
But why are
either
you that
order him
comfortable
an
taking your
Uber
abuser
or
to
something?
chemo?
Or
Like,
He's your abuser. You just talked about you cleaning up blood off the tiles, and you remember the color of it because you just couldn't get that blood out. But you gonna take him to chemo? Okay, all right.
they had to redeem the Mike character for some reason. I didn't understand that.
I don't care.
I hated
It was an unsuccessful
You know
redemption.
what's crazy about that? What's his name? Victor Webster played the guy next to Troy in the locker room. I love Victor Webster. Been a fan since Mute Next. Anyway,
Never heard of
he just gets finer the older he gets. I was like, but I was surprised to see him in this because I don't remember. You don't remember like background characters, side characters, stuff like that. So like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Victor Webster is in here because he was on Charm too. I'm just saying, anyway.
This is the Charmed stand right here. This is the Charmed stand.
Yeah.
I can do any trivia because I'm good at this. But so like he's in it. He even calls Mike a dick. He was like, oh, he's a dick. So everybody knows. Everybody gets that smoke. Everybody
If you don't know, you know.
Right.
Even if you don't know, you know. So it's just like I was just like, this film is just like it's too much for me. And then it's like I don't know how their living room is set up. She was just sitting on the couch. Y'all can't see her couch from the door. That door clear. I was like, how is this? Because the way the camera went, it looked like you could see her. And then it was like y'all walked in and didn't see this human sitting on the steps. The peripheral vision on these ladies. I'm like, what's happening? You can't see her sitting on the steps.
When they walked in the door, I'm like, the steps are right in front of the door.
You're right in front of the door.
Like they were like,
Okay, they were. I was so confused with the geography of this.
They didn't see her until she said something. Y'all ain't gonna look around the room. Y'all see all this glass on the floor. Y'all ain't gonna.
This is kind of an aside, but sorry. This is an aside, but what's with candles on stairs? I didn't like that. I didn't like each of those stairs having a candle. That made me really uncomfortable.
I honestly like my eyes are terrible. Okay, like I couldn't tell what they were, so I was like,
oh,
what? They were candles.
I thought they were just lights.
And then they're
I
not
think
even.
they were candles, but they weren't lit.
And then because something is in front of it, like something is in front of it, there's no way to like safely light these. You have to be on the step,
right? And like leaning over,
go up the steps and leaning up. Like, what are we doing? The aesthetics is not working in this house, and it's a lot of glass.
It's a lot of glass. I was gonna say the same thing. There was like everything was glass. It's like that table, this chair, that
everything.
You know,
the
fridge is glass. So what the that's
no,
what it
like
felt
facts. Like she's just breaking everything. I'm just like, but honestly, the fridge was glass in the first one, I believe. If I'm not mistaken.
It was white.
So
it was. Oh god.
Yes.
Okay.
One last thing, and then we do need to wrap up. But we did, of course, get Louis Gossett Jr. and Cecily Tyson in a great scene. They probably stole the show, in my opinion, just because they were fun. Great stories. I love the way that it was a great little story that brought them together, and I just love seeing them. And I loved Angela's reaction to getting dead person all over her as she had to go wash off in the ocean. I was like,
immediately misery. Yes,
yeah,
like
I loved it.
No, for real. But I love that you could hear her screaming in the background even when they were talking.
My daughter was screaming over and over because she wouldn't stop screaming, so they were screaming together. It was pretty fun.
Wow.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. This film was just, and then them CGI balloons at the end. Like,
they were right. They were so weird.
I guess it's 20.
I was like, I feel like they were real in their hands. Right?
And as soon as they left,
and then as soon as they left, they were like, okay, we can't really do this. So let's just get some.
You know what's really weird?
I was like, why are they still here? They were still in the same spots as they moved. I was like,
I think Tyler Perry prefers to go for the more Hallmark soap opera, because even the shot that they had of those candles, or the whatever those are, I don't know what those are called, but of the balloons, of the lanterns. Thank you.
The lanterns.
They could have, turned on the camera about a half hour earlier and got a way prettier shot with those in the background.
Yes.
And they didn't. And I'm like, who's your DP? Like, what are you doing? Put a little art on this, man. Just take an extra minute and just give me that beautiful shot.
Tangled did it better. I prefer Tangled.
Oh, I hated the
boys I loved before did it better. Like they had lanterns in that too, and the lanterns was cute.
Right.
I'm just saying. I don't understand, sir.
that scene with the fireworks in the background. I hate when I see shots and I'm like, unearned. No, the emotional beat you thought you hit, you didn't get it. No, reverse.
Right after they announced that they were getting divorced, after
like,
we got this beautiful, like, this movie did not earn Lou Gossett and Cicely Tyson. It did not. So as bad as the accents were, it's still Lou Gossett.
They were great.
Outperforming everybody in the movie.
They were great. Right. The accents make me chuckle because I was like, they didn't need them. They didn't need them. They didn't need the accents.
Right.
That's the A24 movie that we were waiting for.
They didn't need it. They didn't. That's what, to me. That's what it is.
Call
to
it
me,
Porter
you
and
distract because you didn't need the accents for them because they're amazing actors. You didn't need the accents for them.
Just let them come on and read the lines. It would have been perfect.
To me, the accents were like why Cicely talking like this? Like what? Because you never say where they're from. You never say that they're from this island or anything. You never, so the accents was unnecessary.
Maybe they're from the Bahamas because they're with accents. They're there.
I mean, I think it was supposed to be some type of a Jamaican accent, but also just like you guys are regular
people,
contiguous Americans. These people could have also flown down here.
They're on a resort, right? They're at a resort. It's
for
not,
sure to I don't know.
What I think happened is they did the scene regular and then they redid it, but Tyler was still like, because he's sitting in the beach chair, he's like looking at them. He's like, "Do the accent." I want to see what the accent this time.
And I'm creeped out.
Can you imagine him directing Lou Gossett and Cicely Tyson? Like, first of all, I've forgotten more about acting than you've ever learned. So get out of my scene and don't direct me. Okay,
literally.
I can't.
You know what?
Give me the lines.
The accents is probably his one contribution. He's like, "Here you go." Like, I directed them. Like,
no, for sure. Like, no, stop. Because he directed Cicely before in another film. I can't remember the name. Was it Diary of a Mad Black Woman? It was some film. It's like a reunion happening.
Yes, actually.
Was it Diary of a Mad Black Woman? Yeah, because she was in that film too. So it's like one of those things where it's like, if you just let her go. Take off the reins, let her go. And in this one, it was just like she don't, because during that time her voice is already like old woman voice, so it already sounds like she has an accent already because she's Southern as well, I believe. So it sounds like she already has an accent. So you ain't got to add an accent on an accent. Just let her speak. Just let her talk.
Agreed. Let's rate this film. We're gonna start with Lon.
Did he go first?
Oh, I said it first. You gotta go first. I'm
sorry.
Not
really. I said it first, but that's fine. I'll go. I'll let you have this.
Well, you are on the East Coast, so technically it happened before the Earth spun. So
no, literally.
Wow, you are earlier in the day than I am in a sense. Okay, I'll go first. Yay! This is a 4-5-ish.
Farfignuger. Yeah.
It's in the. I don't think I would watch this one again. I would rewatch the first one gladly, but I don't like this. Solid. There's no cherry on top. It's just like, boom, all these relationships exploded, and that sucks. I hate all these characters now.
Yeah.
5.
Facts. No, every character trash now. All of them across the board. Continue.
Except Black Dynamite. I love Black Dynamite.
That's hilarious.
That would have made the movie better, actually.
I didn't hear you say that. I'm sorry.
No,
sir.
You're good.
My apologies to MrSniDBitS. And everyone. I'm gonna give this a 4 because, like I said, it has some good moments, and it only gets a 4 because of Lou Gossett Jr. and Cicely Tyson. And I'm disrespected by the way that he regressed our characters. There was no need for that. It's a sequel. and his sequel. He proved that sequels are never better than the original. So he's the quintessential person about that. So yeah, it gets a 4. I'll never watch this again. Like I say all the time, I'll never watch it again unless somebody is like, "Hey, I really want to watch this movie," and I'll be like,
"Do you want to watch me tear it apart while we watch it?"
I was like, "I'm gonna rip this, or I'm gonna go home. Which one you want?" So I can go home.
You said, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
Tyler, what do you rate it?
I'm gonna give it a 2 TOO for the jokes. There you go. Because I really don't know what to. I don't like I don't like when they do certain things with characters in sequels, and it totally trashes everything that came before it. So
agreed. How about you, Ray?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably give it a 3 or a 4. I would say either one is fine. I don't care. The official record is 3 or 4 is fine.
We can just put the 3-4. Like, we'll just write that down.
3-4.
Yep.
It's just heartbreaking. Like, I think that there was a great, like you said, Tyler, like, for me, I'm a very character-driven watcher, and, like, the humanity of the characters is the part that I connect to the most, and I think that there was so much potential that was completely lost.
Completely.
These almost were different characters.
It's like the Rise of Skywalker for the Why Did I Get
the
Married?
TPCU.
That's hilarious. It could have been like, for me personally, it could have just been like, Why Did I Get Married Too? And it could have been different characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would have actually been okay.
Feels like he did right.
It could have been like
named everybody different.
Right, it could have been like Patricia counseling 4 other characters that we watched their lives and how, like, you know,
or go American Horror
like
Story with it and have all the actors play different characters, even though it's the same actors, and then pair them up differently so that they're different couples.
I love that. That's an interesting idea.
Show the actors ranges,
and then, honestly, it could have been like that, and then at the end, it could have been Patricia reading a book and being like, you know, I just thought I would, you know.
I was literally going to say this.
Listen, man, me and Ty got to write a movie together. Ty got to write a movie.
She's at the Bahamas. She's on the beach thing, and like they do a little zoom in. She turns around. She's like,
Our shoots were so successful, and we were able to prepare. And so I thought I would help other couples with the success that we've had. Like, something would have made more sense where you could cast different characters,
or maybe the first film was a smoke screen, and the second film was showing us how she was just. Everybody's actually in different relationships, but she was pairing them up to see how they would act with each other.
Okay, what's
and like
the fan fiction happening?
So
right
maybe
now?
this is the TPCU. This is How Do I Get Married 3.
Maybe Angela's with Patricia and Mark is. I mean, maybe Angela is with like Gavin and Patricia's with Mark. And like maybe it's different, but she was pairing them up in different ways. In the first, like I could do all kind of stuff with this because this was
the Daniels direct. Why Did I Get Married Too? Just a multiverse.
Yes, I'm here for,
I could watch it. I could watch it. All right.
Watch that.
This has been season 2, episode 21 of The Real Study. And of course, as always, follow us on all social media. And this will
follow us where you listen to your podcast too. We're all over there. Apple, Spotify, Google. We're all over that. All over YouTube and
100%.
And Twitter and TikTok. Follow us.
Agreed.
Instagram, all that.
This will probably be the last Tyler Perry episode, so cherish it, savor it. I doubt we'll be revisiting many.
Don't request it because it will be denied. Unless it's one of the good ones. I might throw in one of the good ones. We can do the good ones. It's
What
like
are they? What are they?
It's The Family That Prays.
Never saw that one.
I'm telling you, it's solid. It's one scene that I always laugh at because it's funny. So The Family That Prays is solid. Diary of a Mad Black Woman is solid. That's all I got.
There's a prison one, I think, right? I saw
Madea goes to jail.
Get out, Tyler. Get out.
I was like the only one. I saw that poster when I was a kid or something.
Isn't there another, like a couple other, like just like normal movie? Not saying Medea is well, no, Medea is not normal. But are there like a few more like standard?
That's the ones I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. The Family That Prays has Alfred Woodard, Sanaa Lathan. Okay. It's literally like a about a family. It's really, really good. But it's still like
sifting through his filmography is very difficult to avoid the Medea stuff.
The Diary of a Mad Black Woman does have Madea in it, but she's not like
not a prominent character.
See, that's what Bats was saying, is that any of the movies where Medea is a background character are solid films. Like they're
solid because she comes in, she do a little funny thing, she dips out, and then when she comes back in, she gives you some wisdom, and then she dips out. She can't sustain a full movie. For me personally, Madea can't sustain.
Well, because he can't also. He has less time to direct. And do his actual job.
Like facts. But those two films, Aina, if you're still listening, I hope you are. I don't know if you have to leave. I'm pretty sure she is. But like Aina, put those two, The Family That Prays, and Praise is Preys.
Like pray, right?
Like pray. Like not
predator and prey.
But it's like literally like that. And then Diary of a Mad Black Woman. Those two films, even though the hair in Diary of a Mad Black Woman is atrocious.
Travesty.
But look past it. Look past it because it's not a bad story. It's not a bad story. But yeah, those are the two. Right. Those are the only two that I know.
So this was Why Did I Get Married was like one of his first real films.
Yes, it was.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, have a great evening, all, and we will see you next week. Stay tuned for what movies.
Good burr, because that's what Madea says.
What?
I don't know. She's like, hello.
What?
Hello. He was a the bird.
Wow.
This is Tyler's last day, man. This is his last.
It was good to have you on The Real Study, sir. It really was.
Yeah, it really was.
Just kidding.